Hi guys, James O'Brien has said a number of times, compassion for the conned, contempt for the conmen. But does that still hold true? While a growing number of people who voted for Brexit have come out of the closet in a sense and admitted that they were wrong, be it due to the realization that the economy has been impacted, they themselves have saw the downside of the ending of freedom of movement, or perhaps realized cutting Britain off from the rest of Europe has made the lives of their children or grandchildren more difficult. Should we still criticise those who voted for Brexit, perhaps out of ignorance? Liz Webster, the founder of Save British Farming, made a very interesting point about the sector, perhaps one of the industries that gets unfairly blamed for pushing Brexit over the line. But is it correct to still be angry with those in agriculture that voted to leave?
I spend a lot of my time talking to people who are cross with people who voted Brexit, particularly farmers. For some reason, they are the focus of Brexit. And ultimately, it's really important to listen and understand this. It's not voters' fault that Brexit happened. It's the Conservative Party's fault. They brought us the referendum and they delivered the result of a marginal referendum. In 1979, there was a referendum under the Labour government on Scottish devolution. It actually came back with a positive vote of 52%, but the Labour government at the time decided not to implement it because it was not a majority. It really represented only 33% of the population in Scotland. So that's why devolution didn't happen then. And ultimately, the Conservatives in government could have done the same. There's many things they could have done with Brexit, including kicking it into a royal commission, but they didn't. They chose to play with Brexit, and that's why we are where we are. So now here we are in 2023, and we have to forget what people voted 7 years ago. Many of them probably have passed away anyway. We've got a new electorate. Many people have turned 18 since 2016. And so therefore we must stop arguing and ruminating over Brexit voters. And we need to move forward and unite to get agreement to rebuild Britain by ensuring that we get back to Europe, or as close to Europe as possible. You know, over these years, Europe is succeeding and progressing, and we are out of that right now. And so the priority is to focus on getting people to agree that the best choice for Britain is to leave Brexit, get out of Brexit, and to focus on getting back into the European Union. Brexit has failed, and it's not voters' fault. The reason Brexit has failed is because the Conservative Party were irresponsible in delivering something which had no plan, and all assessments said it would be destructive. And that's exactly what has happened. Brexit is a disaster.
Liz is correct. There's a number of things to respond to here. So first of all, the Conservatives didn't actually have a plan. The Brexiteers didn't have a plan. They didn't know what would come after Brexit. They just convinced people that it was a good idea to get out. And I think when it came to fishermen and farmers, agricultural sector, they were being convinced by people like Nigel Farage that, you know, if we vote to leave, everything will be wonderful. The EU is holding you back. The EU is imposing restrictions on you that are driving you out of farming, driving you out of the fishing industry. Of course, it was based on lies, and the National Farmers Union was trying to convince farmers, individual farmers, to vote to remain in the European Union. The National Farmers Union understood this, and I think it's important not to tar all farmers with the same brush. Many farmers realised, you know, the importance of being part of the European Union. They didn't trust the Tories, they didn't trust Nigel Farage, Boris Johnson and others, and they realised, yes, we need to remain in the European Union. Unfortunately, many farmers didn't listen to the experts, and instead they listened to the politicians. Now, there's no point beating people over the head saying, you were wrong, you were wrong, you were wrong. What you need to do, as Liz has pointed out here, you need to rebuild. And I think it's important that people who voted for Brexit are welcomed back into the fold. It takes a lot of courage. You're not going to hear the politicians admit that they were wrong. You're not going to hear commentators admit that they were wrong. But ordinary voters, it takes a lot of courage to step forward and say, yes, I voted for Brexit. I was wrong. I voted for Brexit. It made my life worse. I voted for Brexit. It made the lives of my children or grandchildren worse. I wish I could take it back. The way forward is to put pressure on politicians, both the Conservatives and the Labour Party, to drive forward towards the European Union, get back into the European Union. They're the ones who will decide. And in order to convince them, the voters have to put pressure on individual MPs and the political parties. Once again, it's no point beating people over the head saying you were wrong. It's important to bring these people into the fold and convince them to join a campaign to rejoin the European Union. It doesn't matter if people voted for Brexit or voted to remain. At this stage, what's necessary is for people to unite and push for Britain to rejoin, because things will get better. Rejoining the European Union, staying outside, will just see agriculture in particular get worse. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot.